Welcome to Restoring the Truth. It's a beautiful day today in October, my favorite month. We're talking about the last days and the blue moon. And it's interesting if you look in Acts chapter 2, the day of Pentecost had fully come, and they had come out of the upper room out into the streets, and the people said, "Are these guys drunk?" And Peter said, "They're not drunk as you suppose." He said, "This is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. In the last days, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh." So if you look at that scripture and you analyze it, he was saying that this was the last days, or at least the beginning of the last days then, almost 2,000 years ago. So according to that scripture, we have been in the last days for almost 2,000 years. So as you look at the things going around us in the world right now, and we're actually looking at the precursor to the mark of the beast. Everybody sees it, is talking about it. They've been pretty bold, and you can actually look and figure out who these players are. Hiding in the shadows. I talked a little bit about it in one of my videos. It was my first video, Mystery Babylon, and talking about Mystery Babylon and just analyzing that scripture. You can go back and watch that if you want to. But we're seeing the precursor for the mark of the beast. How would they implement it if they were to implement it today? Which they're trying to do. And they're trying to take away cash. At first they said coins, and they didn't wait long, and they said, okay, we're going to take away cash too. And because they want to be able to control. It's, on every level of what you can buy or sell, and then of course they can charge you a tribute percentage for every transaction. Must be nice. I guess they think they own the money. It's not our money, it's their money. And they just charge us a transaction, because they can't charge a transaction fee with cash. You just pay, and you bought something, made a deal with somebody, it's none of their business. But they're setting up a system where they can track and monitor everything that you do, and they can shut off your money so that you cannot buy or sell unless you have a good social credit score, which they're setting up. And we can see this mark of the beast system right now. And so it does appear that we're going into, or getting really close to going into, the tribulation. But we're not there yet. I talked about this a little bit in my last video about a dream that I had back in 2012, and it was a 3-part dream, and I'm not going to cover that again. You can watch it if you want to. But I think it's interesting, this new blue moon that's coming up. It's on Halloween, and blue moon is 2 full moons in the same month. Astronomy lovers have a special treat in store for Halloween. A rare blue moon will be on view across all time zones for the first time since 1944. And I thought that was a real interesting year. If you look at Genesis 1 and 14, it says, "And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years." Looking at that, then since this happened, 76 years ago? The only thing left is it's a sign. So when you look at what happened in 1944, the World War II was coming to an end. Came to an end a few months after that, and then in 1945, the Nuremberg trials began. So as we're looking, and I was looking at some hurricanes and stuff that I was relating to my dream, because one of my first part of that dream was actually about a hurricane. And so looking at these signs in heaven kind of ties right along with that, justice is being returned to the righteous. In that same video I mentioned earlier, my first video, talking about the the mystery Babylon. I also talked about justice being returned to the righteous. I think it's Psalm 96, I believe. I talked a little bit about that justice was returning. I think that's such an appropriate scripture. I think I may have even brought that up in the last video. But just a scripture that's really been on my mind. And I do believe that we are seeing a return of justice. And then when I saw this blue moon, and the last time this sign flashed in the heavens, it was followed shortly after by the Nuremberg trials. You could about knock me over with a feather. I'm like, wow. You know, I mean, that's like looking at everything that I've analyzed. You go back and watch that dream. And I've been very careful to analyze things and critique things. And I mean, this is like rolling, 6 dice and you end up with 6 sixes. I guess 6 is a bad number, but if you're playing a game and you roll 6 sixes, you're in pretty good shape. That's some pretty good doubles there. But I'm very confident that we are headed into a season of peace, a season where justice is being returned to the righteous. Justice has not been in the hands of the righteous for some time, but justice is being returned to the righteous, and we are headed into a time of peace. And I think this is just another sign. So why it looks like we're going into the Great Tribulation, maybe in a few weeks or few years or months, I don't believe so. Now, if you look and see that history repeating itself, like the Roaring Twenties, I believe we're going into the Roaring Twenties, then you could look and say, well, the 30s, the late 30s, the early 40s might be a time frame, for that to occur. I don't know. Could be delayed even longer than that. It's interesting if you haven't seen Tom Horn's information talking about Apophis, and he believes that it's going to strike the earth in 2029. And they say it's going to miss, and he does not think it's going to miss. It's interesting, though, he said that in it, that the people in the earth were crying out to God and for him to spare us. So it is possible that we would get a reprieve, and it is coming back around in 2036, which falls into an interesting time frame regarding history possibly repeating itself again. You think the Holocaust. That might be an interesting historical, as far as the Great Tribulation in history repeating itself. That could be an interesting time frame. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I was thinking about the guy on the cross. I've been thinking about this quite a bit. Jesus is on the cross, and there was a thief on both sides, and one of them was mocking him, and the other one said, "This man has done nothing wrong." And he said, "Remember me when you enter your kingdom." And I thought, that's interesting, because I used to read over that, and I thought, well, he didn't really know who Jesus was, but he revealed in what he said that he did know Jesus' message. He knew who Jesus was. He knew that he was innocent. He had done nothing wrong. And that he knew that about his kingdom. He had heard him preach about his kingdom. Maybe he was just passing by in the streets and stopped for a brief moment. But he had heard the gospel message. And I just thought that was interesting, because here he had just a few hours left on earth. And, with all the things going on right now, you could be having the worst day of your entire life, and yet it could be the greatest day of your life if all you did was call on him. If that is in his moment of desperation, knowing he only had a few hours left, he called to the Lord in his desperation. And that's really what it takes, us coming to a point where we realize that we need Him. We can't do it on our own. And I was thinking about this scripture in Jeremiah 33. I got it somewhere here. Jeremiah, where are you, Jeremiah? And it says, "Call to me, and I will answer and show you great and mighty things which you do not know of." That's all you got to do, is call Him, like Peter when he was sinking, and he said, "Save me, help me." There's no secret prayer. There's no incantation. If we call to Him with a contrite and broken heart, in our own words, from our own time of trouble, then that's what gets His attention. So just wanted to say that. God bless you, and have a great day. I don't think we're going into the Great Tribulation. A lot of people think we are. A lot of people, and I know that things are going to be bad for the next few months, and I'm hoping and optimistic that by Christmas things will be better. Could be, it could take a month or so longer, but I do believe that we're going into a time where God is restoring justice to the world, not just America, but to the world, and a time of great peace. The Roaring 20s. These are going to be the greatest days of our life. You hear about the global reset, and these wascals are trying to reset this world to their favor. But they forgot one thing. God has a reset button of His own. And I fully believe that God has pushed that reset button and is resetting the world according to His will, according to His plan, and according to His desire. And we may see global freedom. We may see global freedom. We may see North Korea and China free, and the gospel spread across every continent on this planet. God bless you, and thanks for listening.